Throughout NASCAR history, one of the things that draws people to the sport the most is the feuds. Maybe you call them rivalries depending on how they are, but usually they're between those who are competing on the track or are competing in some way or another, like a team owner or a pit crew. Oh, sometimes there's fans that have feuds with different people. But not as often do you see the feud that an individual or entity will have with NASCAR itself. And that's what I want to look at today. Different drivers or people or teams or whoever it might be that had a bit of a feud or started different controversies with NASCAR itself and many times ended up losing. So without further ado, here are 7 of those instances. To kick it off, we have to start with Daytona, and for this one, we're looking at Carl Edwards in 2006. During the Budweiser shootout that year, there were green flag pit stops that were going on. Edwards was towards the back of the pack, so coming up onto the front stretch when different drivers were pulling down, well, he had to make sure that he didn't run into the back of them. And seeing how that was very unorganized and there were lots of cars in his way and there was no way he wasn't causing a very big and dangerous wreck, Carl did the only thing possible and went below them, below the yellow line, past them, and continued on going, losing positions on the track in the process. But what did NASCAR do with this? They black flagged the 99 car for saying he went below the yellow line. So Edwards rightfully said that it was wrong, and NASCAR didn't budge, because NASCAR, especially at that time, would not budge. So what did he do? Well, he just said, screw this, I'm done, and he pulled his car behind the wall in a show of anger towards the sanctioning body. Another fun one was Robbie Gordon in Montreal, where the caution came out. Robbie was in the lead with the caution being out, but it was Marcus Ambrose who spun him out under the caution flag. For this, NASCAR also claimed that he did not maintain his speed because, well, he was being spun around, and it's pretty hard to maintain your speed when you do that. So, for this, he was put a bit further back in the pack. But Robbie, being the stubborn driver that we all love him to be, decided to park himself on the restart in second, right behind Marcus Ambrose. And, well, he was black flagged for this, not scored. But NASCAR, for some odd reason, let them restart, with the guy who just got spun out behind the guy who had spun him out. So, what did he do? Well, he took the 59 car out and crossed the line first, burning it down on the front stretch, only to be suspended for the Cup race the next day. Now, this next one is very indirect, but I'm assured that NASCAR will probably not view it that way. And it's basically just Kevin Harvick's entire early years of his career, probably from about 2002 all the way until like 2013. I don't know. It was when he was in the 29 car. And the thing is that Harvick was constantly in controversy. Over and over again, he'd run his mouth, he'd start stuff on track, try and get into fights, and at one point was even suspended for a Cup race by NASCAR. He always had choice words for how things were run, and while he wasn't necessarily doing this head-to-head against NASCAR, it must have been pretty clear at that point, especially after the suspension, that, well, he didn't have any love lost for those in power who were constantly trying to take him down a peg for what he probably viewed as real justice. Now, let's venture out away from the athletes of NASCAR and the drivers and look at other athletes. You see, when Fox Sports 1 started, it was on very shaky ground with NASCAR fans as it replaced the Speed Channel, which was a hub for NASCAR content. While there was a bit on FS1 and a lot more compared to other sporting networks, it wasn't like they were really focused primarily on NASCAR and nothing else like Speed seemed to be at the end. And with this, they brought other sports and sports commentators on, including former quarterback Donovan McNabb. McNabb was part of a different show here and there on FS1, and on FS1, he had said that NASCAR drivers aren't athletes. All they do is sit in a car. Well, FS1 also needed NASCAR to succeed, so all parties involved were upset with this. And he pissed off both fans and drivers of the sport, and I'm sure did not make NASCAR itself very happy as well with it. But it's kind of funny seeing McNabb call NASCAR drivers non-athletes when I clearly remember just how bad that fat ass was with Minnesota with the Vikings at the end. Now, we've talked about people that have gone against NASCAR, but what about a certain entity in the form of a city? And I'm, of course, talking about Chicago. Last year, NASCAR and the city of Chicago announced the Chicago Street Race that will be run later this summer on July 4th weekend, closing down part of the city. And with this, it was definitely a political move on former Mayor Lori Lightfoot's part. And ever since, the city has found every reason under the sun for why the race shouldn't happen, and if it does happen, should only be a one and done. Many people have complained about pollution, for instance. They've complained about traffic. They've complained about the noise of the cars. But the biggest one I've seen so far is that they have said the noise of the cars will cause too much shaking and damage any of the art in the museums of Chicago. That's what they're trying to go on now. On top of that, politics with a city street course will always be a factor. Going back to people, let's look at our favorite cesspool of the internet, Twitter. And Twitter has caused plenty of different controversies. We've seen it even recently, where Mike Joy and Fox Sports is going to somewhat war and then a truce against the fans or keyboard warriors. And this has been something that's been going on ever since Twitter became prominent in NASCAR. And in the early 2010s, when it had just become prominent for the most part on Twitter, NASCAR got embroiled into a pretty bad and tragic controversy with Tony Stewart and Kevin Ward, where Stewart accidentally hit the young driver, which ended up ending his life. With this, plenty of people had plenty of things to say, and it was definitely an emotional time for anyone watching the sport, and I can imagine the emotional damage it probably did to Tony Stewart and those involved. But one who wanted to sound off and hear the sound of his own voice was Keith Olbermann. Olbermann was an over-the-hill sports commentator who had a backwater show on ESPN2 at the time. And he decided to use the Kevin Ward incident to rip on NASCAR and try and gain eyes to his show, which almost for months became a just rip on NASCAR every night kind of show. When this was going on too, he also would go lower. Anytime a NASCAR fan would say something horrible to him, he'd find a way to be even more horrible. Now, last but certainly not least, we're going to have the most recent incident that NASCAR has been caught up in when it comes to controversy and feuds. And of course, we're talking about Josh Williams versus those in scoring towers at the Atlanta Motor Speedway. The Xfinity race this past week, as of recording this, was an absolute dumpster fire. And with it, there were plenty of crashes, Williams being involved in a couple of them. Because of this, he had damage, so when they went down to pit road to repair it, they were trying to tape pieces together and put Bear Bond on them. But because of the cool temperatures, it meant that the stickiness of the tape and Bear Bond was not as effective. So, under caution, coming out onto the racetrack, Williams' car left a piece of debris. This extended the caution a little longer, and after a pretty long day already, only a few laps honestly into the race, NASCAR put the hammer down on the 92 car and the driver and told him to park it. Completely confused by this, Williams rode around for a while before they said they'd stop scoring him, so he did what they said. He parked his car on the damn front stretch, on the start-finish line, in front of the grandstands, and he pieced out. I gotta admit, before they showed it was a peace out sign, it kind of reminded me of a certain other driver getting upset at the tower. But for this parking, Williams was suspended for a week. But he did gain a lot of notoriety, and his sponsors are probably going to get a lot of TV time because of this. Now with this, I want to pass it all over to you and ask, what is your favorite feud that NASCAR has had with anyone, anything, or anybody? Let me know down in the comments below. While you're at it, leave a like on this video and share this video, and subscribe to the channel for more great NASCAR content. Thank you so much to all my channel members for your continued support. And until next time, have a good one.